Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how you can fetch data from an API and pass it into your Math Select, and then you can filter that data. So what I'm going to show you today is, for example, you fetch data and pass it to a Math Select. Based on the selection, it's going to populate the next select. As you can see, if I inspect and show you, so now it's album that is being loaded, but if I select an album, it loads for me photos of this selected album, and these photos will pass into another Math Select. So this you can use to filter your data. And also you can see from here is 100 data, now it's brought down to 50. That could be less, 50 again, okay, never mind. All right, and then we're going to be using we're going to be displaying these photos in a card, in a math card. Okay, so a lot of photos. We're going to be using Math Select, we're going to be using Math Card and other things that come with it. We're going to be working with JSON placeholder. We will be fetching this album data, and based on what you select, we'll fetch photos of that particular album. At the end of the day, our project will be like this. Okay, if this is your first time watching our videos, thank you and welcome, and please consider subscribing. Hit the subscribe button. If you find this video useful, please hit the like button and leave us a comment if you got a question, a suggestion, or something you want us to know. Okay, without further delays, let's get to it. So I'm gonna create a brand new project, and how to do that, you just do ng new and then you type the name of your project. So for this, I'm gonna call it Math Select, then you just hit the enter. So this is gonna create my project. For me, it's gonna ask me if I want to add Angular routing. I can just say yes, hit the enter. It's gonna ask me to pick what style sheet do I want to use. I prefer to use SCSS just in case I need to put in variables in it. And then this is gonna create the project for me. So because this takes some time, so I'm just gonna pause the video, and then once done, I'm gonna resume the video again. So it's finished setting up my project. I'm just gonna navigate to it by doing cd connect, and then I'm gonna open this in VS Code. So if you have this issue that I have here, no worries, your project was created very well. The only thing is you just need to run npm install to install node modules in your project directory. So now that we're in our project, there are a few things we need to set up. One of those things is you can see I don't have npm here, so I'm just gonna run npm install. This is gonna install npm for me. So I'm gonna let this install. So now that I have my npm module installed, so what I'm gonna do next is to create two folders. One will be the model folder and one will hold the services folder. Now how I'm going to do that is simple. I'm going to create a new class. So I'm going to do that by typing ng generate class, and I'm going to put this inside the model folder, and the name of this will be album. When I hit enter, it's going to create this class for me. The next one will be photos. So I'm just going to repeat the same command. So that will create two classes for me. The next thing that I want to do is to create a service that I can use to fetch the API. ng generate service. I'm going to put this inside the service folder, and that will be, I'm going to call it the music the service. So here in this JSON site, I need albums and I need photos. If we select any album, based on that album, it's going to fetch the photos of that album using the ID and album ID. So I'm going to make this a interface instead of just class. Inside the photo class, so now I have created a class for photos and album. The next thing we need to do is to look into our service, and for that we need to import a few things. Or before we get to that, let's go take care of our HTML up front. Let's go see how our site looks. This is how our site looks right now. So I'm gonna just get Math Select and do a bit of styling on it. So I'll just get rid of everything here, and I'm gonna create a container. So I'm gonna create a container and then I'm gonna style it, but let me save this one first and show you what we need to do. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a page that is centered. We're gonna have two matte select. This is gonna have album. When you select album, it will load the photos of that album. The content of these photos we're gonna list using some matte card. So this can be 4-column grid, 3-column, whichever way it fits. So now I'm gonna get back to my HTML and just write the style in HTML for this. Okay. First mistake, I should have added Angular material before now. That I didn't do, which is why I'm getting these errors. So I'm gonna do that, which will take away all these errors. So like I said, in this tutorial, I'm gonna keep it very raw. I'm gonna write everything in here. When I get errors, I'm gonna pause the video. You might experience a couple of errors yourself, so you see also how I resolved it. So now that I've added Angular material, you see all the errors have gone away, except for these ones, which we don't need. So I'm gonna just take this guys away. Okay, we're all good. Now if I go back to the browser and check our app, there is nothing. Now I'm going to do more of some styling and some fixing. So now that we've got like basic styling, let's start making that API call. So I'm going to import some modules that will make this work for us. One of those modules is forms module, HTTP client module, and custom element schema. What we do next is we come here and we start making that call. We create a constructor, HTTP client, HTTP client. And we're going to load that data inside the album array. And this is going to return. And then we're going to pass the URL. So on page load, we're going to run fetch this albums, which is going to load inside matte select. Now we come to app component.ts, and here we're going to create some variables. One of them is list album. The next one is going to be album selected. And this is going to be a string. This should be okay for now. And in here, we're going to have a constructor. And on page load, load this, that, load albums. Now we are going to create this function. This is going to be this, that, music service, that, get album. You will subscribe list album. We're going to console log this just so that we can see what we have. Okay, so we have successfully created the function that's going to make that API call. And this is going to happen on page load. Let's open up our component.html file. This is going to be album, and then inside matte option, so ng4, let album of list album, we pass the value. This will be album.id. Then inside we're gonna have album.title. Okay, so let's save and let's see. Our albums are loading. And if I pull up the console log, you can see a list of all the albums we're fetching from this API. Albums API, you can see number 1. And you can see ID2. If we go to our page, number 1. Now I can even show you when I select one. So let's go do an ng model. Let's go bind this so that when I select, I can see what I've selected. Okay, so let's go do that. So in my app component.ts, I'm gonna create another string, album selected, and then I'm gonna bind this to album. So let's see that. Let's display that somewhere below here. So I'm just going to display that below here. So it's going to be a div. Selected. Okay. So let's select this. That gives me ID4. And if we look through this, this is ID4. Now we're going to use this binding to trigger an event on change, on select change, that should fetch the content of this album. So let's go do that. Now I'm gonna just comment this out. So here, we're gonna create an event, and this event would be on album selected. It's gonna perform an action. The name of that event will be ng model change. That will be on album selected, and this is an event. Now let's go create this. But before we do that, we're gonna go back to our music service, create this service. This. We select here album ID. This is gonna be any. Gonna leave it here for now, and then we're gonna go to our service, and here we're gonna do get photos of selected album. And then we're gonna pass selected album ID. This is gonna be string. Here we're gonna do let parameter 1 equals new HTTP params set album ID. Album ID we got from here. Album ID, we're gonna set it to selected album ID. Okay. And then we're gonna return this that HTTP client that get. Then we're gonna pass the URL. And then we're gonna pass this parameter as well. Now we go back to app component.ts so we can call this. So this is this dot Music service. Duplicate. Photos of selected album. And then we're going to pass in selected album ID. One thing we forgot to do at this point is we need to list these photos. We need to create a variable to hold these photos. So I'm just going to call it these photos because I'm going to go create it now. Data. And then I'm going to go create this over here. And this is going to be photo. Now let's console log this. Okay. Now in our HTML, in our app component.html, on select, on album select, is going to load the photos of that particular album inside this other select. Pass the value as photo that. I'm going to pass in the ID or the title, whichever one you want to, but I think I'll use the ID here. And in the option text, I'm going to pass in the title. Let's go see how we've done. So now, if I reload this page, you can see that right here, it's loading all the albums. So I'm going to clear this. All the albums are loaded. When I select an album, it retrieves photos of that particular album. And then these photos are being loaded into this auto select. Now, notice this. So when I select an album, album ID 3. Now the photos that are being loaded are photos of album ID 3. And they are being loaded as another select. So this is a way you can filter data that you fetch from an API. Okay. Just to wrap this up, I'm going to display all of this information in a card just to show you how you can display them. Assuming you don't want to put them inside the select for some reason. So now I'm going to go back and enable my card. So here I'm going to do the same thing. ng4 let's select photo of this photo. Then here we'll pass the title. I'm gonna call this photo title. Then I'm going to call this album ID. Then in this image that is here, I'm going to pull the image URL. In the alternate text, I'm going to pass in the title of this photo. So the photos don't have content. So I'm going to take this content out. They don't have a button or anything. Oh, they have a URL. But I'm just going to take that out. This action, I don't need it. Now let's see. So when the page loads, it loads all the albums. And when you select an album, it loads all the card. How cool is that? Based on the album selected. There's a lot of files. Okay, let's make this look nice. So let's go to this one. Okay, it's gonna be a flex wrap. So now let's see. Let's select an album. It loads all of that. So base, you can see this is the ID number 3, and the album, the photos we're looking at are photos of album number 3. So you can load this data in any way you see fit, or you can filter it based on that. So as you choose which album you want, the photos gets loaded into this. So you can further filter this down. For example, this could be country, this could be city or state or province, and the next select could be a city. It could be any kind of data. Okay, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell if you find value in this video. If you have questions, please leave in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Ciao.